The Bermuda Triangle, or the Devil's Triangle, formed by Miami, San Juan, and Bermuda, make up an area of our globe that ships and planes have disappeared from without a trace. While it seems to have fallen out of favor with the paranormal world, it still waits for more unsuspecting victims. It's time to return to that mysterious shape on our globe. That sounds like something worth talking about.
And that voice that you were hearing was my good friend and yours, Mr. Father Malone, the man about town, the green-haired man who started the trend in 1984, and he's still rocking it to this day.
Goddamn right I am.
I am Chris Tashu. I am the host of Scary Stories We Tell, and yes, we're talking about the Bermuda Triangle.
Dun, dun, dun.
That is like the noise that goes along with this. What is this? What do we call this? Wikipedia describes it as a loosely defined region of the western part of the Atlantic Ocean. But I think that that's much too boring.
No, what we're talking about here is an intergalactic portal to another dimension. Yes. None of those things make sense.
Bum, bum, bum. That's where that goes in.
Look,
right there.
There's off the southeast coast of the United States, if you're flying or boating, you might just disappear. That is ultimately what we're talking about here when we're discussing the Bermuda Triangle. As Chris and I discussed in a previous episode, we're talking about a particular kind of phenomenon that I remember in my youth while growing up in the 1970s, where it seemed like everyone was obsessed with a certain group of paranormal or supernatural happenings. Bigfoot was rather enormous and is still to this day, just physically. I'm not talking about his popularity. He's a big guy.
I do think his popularity is up, though.
Oh, it's definitely up. Yeah,
Is all of it up? I mean, I think
no.
In like are we like in a second renaissance of this stuff?
We are, but there are new players on the board.
Sure.
The things that I'm still obsessed with 40 years later are I think, pretty soundly been debunked over the years. But Bigfoot, not necessarily, although it kind of has.
Now.
The Loch Ness Monster was going to be my other choice for this show, but Bermuda Triangle won out because even if the Loch Ness Monster were a real thing, it is long dead now. It just had to be.
Right.
I mean, just realistically speaking, if it's the only one of its kind, if 40 years later it's dead,
right?
Unless it's a turtle, anyway,
or it's a stick floating on the lake.
Could be a stick.
Or is it like a toy submarine with like a little molded head on top? Is that what the...
In the previous episode, Chris and I discussed the Amityville Horror, which was the other like massive focal point of paranormal interest back in the 70s. But the other one, perhaps my favorite of all, is the Bermuda Triangle. I love the idea of this is true with the Bermuda Triangle and in all of fiction and just in general. I love the place you're not supposed to go. Don't ride through the woods in Sleepy Hollow at night. There's the potentiality that a headless man is going to take yours.
Right.
Like, don't do that. There aren't enough of those stories anymore where the actual problem, the antagonist is a thing that exists from without your story. Your story will involve it if you involve yourself in it. And as long as you don't do that, you should be fine. And I think the Bermuda Triangle is that place writ large because it not only is a very evocative idea for a region in the world, but there are some big ticket cases of things going missing in these. And I mean, obviously we're talking about Flight 19 and we'll get to Flight 19, but that one in particular, I think cemented the notion that this is a very real possibility of paranormal activity definitely in the 1970s. Well, since I think it was the 50s or the 40s that 50s, happened, right? Yeah. So, I've said enough.
That's it, folks. Good night. To your point, as a child growing up in the 90s.
Gross.
Yeah, right. Sorry. Sorry, I didn't grow up in the 70s and 80s where everything was cool. I have your toys from the 80s. They're reproduction collectibles. That's what they are now.
Is that a reproduction?
Yeah, it is. Look at that.
Somebody was like, remember that shitty toy from the 80s? Remake that.
Shitty toy? You mean Amazing Children's hand puppet where its eyes and mouth moves?
Okay, you have a point.
Yeah, puppets are cool, man.
All right, fine.
But to your point, though, I was into the Bermuda Triangle in the 90s because I was into Bigfoot and all those other things, because this is part of that big discussion.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the big ones. It's one of the, like you said, it's one of the kind of the tent posts here. It's a tent pole of the paranormal universe.
Yeah, where it suddenly wasn't just a whispered tale around a campfire, but this was these were big events that were occurring, and credible people were involved. And suddenly it seemed like your sketchy belief might be a very genuine belief. And this particular time period, I think, sort of opened the floodgates for people ever after, as far as like how much credence they can give this particular, not just the Bermuda Triangle, but like all sort of speculative belief systems here in America.
Chariot of the Gods.
Yeah, man.
That's still Ancient Aliens today. That's still on fucking History Channel.
Is that the right one? I think that might be the right one.
Yeah, Eric Von Daniken. Because he's in those early seasons of the show. Chariots of the Gods is the movie about the ancient aliens, and then they're just like, let's make a show out of that, and then lump everything in. They have I'm sure they have a Bermuda Triangle episode of the show.
Most likely. I said this on our previous episode, the Amityville Horror. Just so you're aware, all of my information about the Bermuda Triangle comes from the show In Search Of, hosted by Leonard Nimoy. That's not actually the case. In this case, I actually watched a whole bunch of more recent investigations of the Bermuda Triangle, which are few and far between these days, because I think everyone, even though we can't prove what specifically did or did not happen there for all of the cases involved, I think everyone has just sort of written this off as an actual thing, right?
I was going to say, similar to Amityville, I would agree. It's very similar to Amityville in a lot of ways. Like, it has just been kind of written off by the community at large, because it's been something I didn't say in the Amityville case, but it applies here. It's so well known and well publicized that it draws attention from everywhere. And because it has been so looked at specifically by so many people, like you said, people have kind of written it off, because like, what else is, it's like if you and I did an episode of the Culture Cast on The Godfather, what is there to say about The Godfather that hasn't already been said?
Right.
Yeah. With the Bermuda Triangle, for a lot of people, that is like, what is there to be said about the Bermuda Triangle that hasn't been said already? That's not necessarily the case, though.
That's true. And honestly, like, I sort of cherish my memories when it was a real thing. And even with all the sort of potential reasonings for how all of these disappearances could have occurred, I still like it as an idea. Like, look, I don't think I realized just how large an area the Bermuda Triangle actually is.
1.5 million square miles. It's fucking huge.
It's a lot. So when you make a territory that large and you say things are going missing in it, it's like, well, yeah, obviously. People go missing. That's what happens.
Yeah, people go missing on land in landlocked states in this country all the time.
People go missing in New York City, like, never mind this vast portion of the Atlantic Ocean that somebody decided, fits nicely into a triangle.
Well, don't forget that the other thing people always forget is that there are islands with people living on them in the Bermuda Triangle.
Right.
Like,
and they have not disappeared.
That's the thing about the Bermuda Triangle that always makes me laugh, is when you look at it, it's 90% water, and then there's this little left-hand side corner, the western vertice, as it were, that is an island chain where people live.
Are they fully within the boundaries of the triangle itself? Or are they just on the periphery?
No, they're in it.
Well, then, this whole thing is debunked. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the thing. It feels more like the Bermuda Triangle, obviously, is about the water, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, that Malaysian flight disappeared in the Indian Ocean. They never found it.
Right. It's not like just because we can't locate something that there was the supernatural phenomenon behind it. I mean, Okay, let's. There had always been sort of tales of being in a particular area and you might not return from, and in this sort of general or localized way. But as I said, it sort of grabbed hold of the public's consciousness and made it a real thing after Flight 19, which was it's a training mission. Was it the Navy? I guess it must have been the Navy. So I don't know how many planes, like 5, 6, something like that. So 5 planes go out for a training mission. They're all experienced pilots. It's not like this is their first time behind the stick or anything. And that their relative inexperience doesn't speak to how weird some of this actually is, where you have a very seasoned pilot leading this mission who starts sending back messages that they're suddenly like facing completely the opposite direction, and they should have been facing east, and then they're facing west, and they're trying to talk them into like turning back around, like just find land and head that way, because he was so erratic. And the idea that one person would be behaving that erratically and the rest of them just sort of followed them in their erratic behavior is a little odd to me. Like, say this one guy got turned around up there and suddenly turned the stick and went in another direction. Like, as good a seaman as you are you going to like follow all of his crazy changes? Probably not, right?
I wouldn't think so unless it's the whole chain of command thing.
Yeah.
But even then, like, you need to use your common sense. Like, if the guy's acting erratically.
Right. And they're all on radio. So they could all be calling in and saying like, hey, Commander's lost it. There would be some of that chatter, wouldn't there?
Well, and that's the thing about Flight 19 is, look, it's inclusion in Close Encounters of the Third Kind notwithstanding, which I think is a really smart way of answering that question in a fictionalized way, because the real answer is the Navy essentially classified it as cause unknown still, right, which is insane in and of its own right.
Yeah.
5 airplanes with 14 people are lost in this entire event because another plane goes down while looking for Flight 19.
For them, right?
Yeah. So 14 people, 5 airplanes plus a rescue airplane all go, have problems with all of this, disappearing or crashing, and cause unknown. That's
pretty official, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty. We're saying that there is something beyond our capability of knowing in this case,
which is horrifying.
Yeah,
it's really horrifying.
Yeah.
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 And that's the thing is I think the thing a lot of people think about with the Bermuda Triangle is the water aspect of it, not the airplane part. And the Flight 19 aspect of the Bermuda Triangle is, for me, the most interesting part.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the other stuff is just ships that went missing.
But yeah, that's the thing. And we know full well from the maritime history that it isn't that hard to sink a ship. It's they go down a lot. I watched a documentary from the mid to late 80s where there was some geothermal scientists who like made this giant wave tank, and they proved that methane being released like from the Earth's core could sink a ship very, very easily. Like, it's suddenly in this boiling water and just slopping side to side. Water gets in. Once water gets in the ship, unless you're pumping immediately, you're going down. And particularly when it comes to this volume. So like that, the reasons why boats would go down are entirely dismissible in a way when it comes to like, well, they disappeared. Like, not only was there this sort of outside chance of a methane leak from the bottom of the ocean, but just regular old pirates could be involved,
right?
Grab everything you can and then sink it and then go on your way, or just inclement weather. And I know that there are plenty of cases where it's like, well, it was a clear day, wasn't a cloud in the sky. There's no reason the ship should have disappeared. And those are only sort of bolstered by the by Flight 19 and there have been other flights involved. And I think there was another Navy ship that went down too. And it's like, well, how does that happen? Like that if anyone is serious out there in the waters, it's going to be the Navy.
Right.
So, I can't, put my trust in, whatever random captain of whatever random commercial vessel at the end of his life does while he's out in the ocean. But certainly we expect that the military is going to behave in the most rational way possible. And so when something like this happens, it throws our entire belief system up in the air.
Well, and to your point, there are 3 other planes along with some more. There's actually, I guess, 5 more planes that are involved in incidents in the Bermuda Triangle. The Star Tiger and the Star Ariel, which are passenger planes.
Right.
The Douglas DC-3, which is also a passenger plane, which disappears. And then the KC-135 Stratotankers that collide with one another. So that's a little different, but the DC-3 disappeared. No trace of the aircraft is found. It disappears 3 years after Flight 19.
Right. See, now the problem that what ends up bolstering the this is all just made up in people's heads, that this area actually has any sort of supernatural bent to it, is the fact that since it became so popular in the late 70s till now, as interesting as a concept as it still is, how many planes have disappeared there and how many boats, and just like everything on Earth, the population is exploding and traffic is bad and whatever. There's got to be that much more activity in that area these days, with flights coming from around the world and boats coming from around the world as well. There's just so much more, and there's so few incidents of something disappearing without a trace.
But could that be because people are actively avoiding it? See, there it is, right?
But there's like zero chance that they are avoiding it. Like, it's such a massive area.
Well, so that's the thing. Like you said, it's one of those places where you involve yourself in the story by going there. Like right. All these it's like the movie The Haunting, the one with Liam Neeson, the good one.
That's the good one. That's right. I know somebody who thinks that.
Oh, well, wow.
No, that's the animated Father Malone holds that movie in high regard.
That haunted house doesn't. I guess the haunted house technically brings the woman there in the movie. Whatever, fine.
It kind of does. It kind of doesn't.
You have to.
She's drawn to it,
right? You have to go somewhere for something to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And this is that. You're not going to get lost in the Bermuda Triangle sitting in Dubuque, Iowa.
Right.
You might go missing in Dubuque, Iowa, because your husband murders you and takes you out to a cornfield. But, but you know what I'm saying? Like we said before, people go missing all the time. So people going missing it's not the people going missing part that's the thing that's tripping people up here. It's the, I guess, seemingly one would say random area of the world.
Yeah, that this has happened and has been documented for, a long time. But, okay, look, here's the 2 things that this can possibly be. One is a dimensional portal is opening, or with that idea is the idea that maybe we're being communicated to there. And anyway, I watched a whole other crazier documentary, which
wait, no, go down this path. What do you mean communicated with?
Like, there is another sort of dimension where they're trying to reach us. Okay. And in that area of the world, that's where their communication is getting through.
That's where the shell is the barrier is the weakest between our worlds. Exactly.
And so when that happens, it disrupts everything in the area, which is why planes go down and like that. So it could be that our instruments are being affected by aliens or extra dimensional beings trying to reach us there. It could be that a doorway is opening between worlds there, or it could be a non-cuckoo version where there might actually still be something to the idea of not necessarily magnetism, but something science.
Methane.
Yeah, well, methane, but like that isn't going to affect something at 10,000 feet. But like
it might.
The methane would?
They did. I remember seeing a Discovery Channel documentary about how methane could interrupt the airplane's internal combustion on the engine.
Okay, that could knock a plane down. But no matter the case, I mean, there are people who have said that they've experienced this like white wall out there. and cloud cover so heavy that it appears out of nowhere. And like once that happens, all their instruments are failing. So like if the plane continues, but they don't know where they are, suddenly the compass goes crazy. And I think, even recently people have done that where they've gone up and their compass just suddenly stopped working. So there might be something localized under the ground somehow that's emitting some form of weird radiation, in addition to whatever. Because the methane thing seems a little crazy that there would be that much methane constantly being released in one area, and we haven't sort of pinned that one down. But like random like blasts of magnetism or radiation that would knock out what we use as instruments, that makes sense to me. And I think it's still mysterious enough that even without the more insane but more desirable explanations for the Bermuda Triangle, it's still kind of fascinating.
So let me ask you, do you know when the most recent occurrence of an airplane incident in Bermuda was?
No, please tell me.
2017.
Really?
A private aircraft was at 24,000 feet when it vanished from radar and radio contact with traffic controllers in Miami. They found the wreckage later.
Wow. I was hoping they had just lost contact for a second.
Well, and that's the thing. In the other case in 2017, it was just a mechanical and electrical problem that occurred during the time they were in the triangle.
So I don't know. It's weird because like in both cases, could it just be the regular failures that happen over, any other area around the globe? Or is it sort of part and parcel with this Bermuda Triangle area? Like you fly over it sometimes, you're going to get fucked.
Well, that's the question, right? Is it flying over it once enough, or is it just a chance?
It's the randomness of it that remains intriguing to me. Like you can walk through those woods all you want at night, and most likely you're not going to see the Headless Horseman. But you go on the wrong evening, guess what? You're not coming back. Like that continues to intrigue me.
Well, and to your point, I mean, this is one of the few areas in the world where this is still a thing. There aren't many places.
Right. I think there's one in Michigan.
Is there? Or Mike Lynn?
No, I'm just being ridiculous.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there is one on land.
Are there sort of strange things will happen in this area? Like if you put your kid down in the kitchen that you built inside that area, they might slide across the floor poltergeist style.
Wow.
All sorts of random phenomena will occur within the demon's quadrangle somewhere in Iowa.
Yeah. Well, what was it? The highway to hell, the 666 route, or whatever ghost adventure shit they were trudging up. There's a pentagram you could draw across the United States, and you use these 6 points, and it makes sort of like a lopsided pentagram leaning to one side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Fantastic.
What's funny to me about the Bermuda Triangle is the extraterrestrial connection. Because I think for me, that's the more interesting angle, right?
Yeah, but that's always more interesting to you.
Oh, it's more interesting. It's not more interesting to you?
No, I don't. No. I sort of
extra dimensional, Mr. Father Malone.
Listen,
You're
that
like
was
the
not
character
my
from Indiana Jones. They're not aliens. They're from the space within the space.
Hey, man. Look, that movie has problems, but I actually like the alien aspect of it. But in my interest in the all things sort of out there, I think when it seems like we can prove something that happened because of this, that, or the other sort of regular human interaction, like I think aliens becomes an easy way to explain it away. You know what I mean? Well, it was aliens.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I think aliens are the easy, not scapegoat, but they're the easy explanation when there is almost no other explanation that makes sense. Like extraterrestrials. Yeah. How did they build those pyramids? Was it farmers who were in the off season, or was it aliens? Like, I know which answer is boring.
Well, no human being would do this. It's like, why wouldn't they? People are absolutely insane. People do crazy shit all the time. We would. We would do it totally. We do it over and over again if time allotted. And
they have. We have.
Yeah. So
pyramids are, skyscrapers are modern day pyramids in a lot of ways. Like feats of modern architecture. Why is that hard to believe?
Yeah, just because it was some ancient civilization. There wasn't one guy who was just like had his eye on the fucking horizon. You know what I mean? Like,
build this shit for me. Like, yeah, I get it. And the pyramids had the aspect of them with the rich and the powerful. So that's the other thing. It's like the rich and the powerful have shit built for them all the time. Why is that hard to believe? What the fuck?
So other than my extra dimensional portal and or communication array, what is the alien theory about the Bermuda Triangle?
I guess it's just that aliens are there and abduct people.
So
right. I mean, it's not. I don't.
It's what they would do on a farm, or they're just snatching people out of the air, and I guess that's what Close Encounters was sort of dramatizing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, the other Bermuda Triangle real stretch. You want to talk about the real stretch?
Let's go for that one.
Big Edgar Casey said they're going to be finding the Atlantis down there.
Oh, sure, yeah, I've heard that as well.
And the Bimini Road in the Bahamas was the road to Atlantis.
It all makes sense now.
Atlantis sank because of the Bermuda Triangle.
Interesting. Not really, because
is Atlantis interesting?
No, I don't think so. Unless there are people there now.
Is it? Wait, hold on. Is Atlantis the missing thing from the 70s paranormal stuff that we've been kind of alluding
Probably,
to?
yeah.
It totally is.
It was pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, Atlantis is, Donovan. Holy
the
shit.
Lost city of Atlantis.
Yeah. The continent of Atlantis.
Hail Atlantis.
Look, I love Atlantis as much as the next person, but I kind of classify Atlantis and Bermuda Triangle in the same... They're batting in the same portion of the ballpark. Even closer in the lineup than most things.
They are, but, that just makes it really easy to conflate the two. It's like they're both kind of watery based, and the things disappear, and that day it disappeared. But like, I like the idea that it was some sort of Mediterranean thing that like sank below the waves, and now somewhere, if you look for it with the right kind of eyes, you can see this sunken city. But
Indiana Jones found Atlantis
in a video game,
and in a comic book, and in a book too, I think.
Probably.
I mean, it's better than Aliens, right?
Yeah. It's more in keeping with the 1930s spirit of things,
right?
But
is Aliens? I mean, we've talked about this before on the show. I think you and I have talked about it before this episode. Aliens kind of are a catch-all, a lazy catch-all in a way.
It's an easy way to explain the unexplainable.
Yeah. Aliens, why not?
Because it embraces both the sort of weirdo paranormal thing and the sort of scientific thing. Like we can't explain it. Our science could not fathom what's going on here. But an alien race with an advanced technology would be able to do this or understand it.
And I think at this point, we're also living in a day and age where most everybody believes in aliens.
Do they, though?
I think
I believe in aliens, and I believe in alien civilizations, and I believe they might or could be or probably are more advanced than us. But do I believe that they're responsible for most of the shenanigans that people are experiencing here on Earth? Maybe not.
Well, no, I'm talking about the first part of your statement, not the second part. I'm talking about, I think more people than not believe in genuine aliens exist. Sure. Now, the next part of your statement is the part that I think is the more important thing to talk about, which is, have we been visited by them? Because that's the question that you're talking about.
Yes.
Which is, have we been visited by them?
I think it is not only possible, but probable that we have. I just don't think it's in the way that we're being told. I think if they're actually here, I don't think they're fucking up all that often and revealing themselves. That's what I would believe.
Well, and that is the ultimate question, right? What does us seeing aliens mean? Is it a fuck up? Are they fucking up and us seeing them? Is it just aliens being aliens and they're no different than humans? I don't know.
It's such a depressing thought,
I know that everybody is just fucking awful, just like us.
Yeah, we're just there's no actual higher learning or power out there. Which I think ultimately is what all of these questions sort of lead toward.
And the most depressing answer of them all
is that everything is awful everywhere. But just like for me, you can debunk the Loch Ness Monster and you can debunk the Bermuda Triangle and the Amityville Horror and all of these sort of childhood obsessions I had, and I can still like them. For some reason, it might be because science is disproving them. Like I can handle the fact that it's probably not true, but I also like the romantic notion that it is some sort of paranormal event. When it comes to aliens, the science is so sort of already woven into it that when you see a documentary like The Nightmare about people with sleep paralysis, and what they describe in a very sort of explicable scenario scientifically is they are imagining that these demons are coming and taking them and they're frozen and whatever. And you put that next to the majority of alien abductee stories, and it just sounds to me almost across the board that what they're describing is these people had sleep paralysis, had no fucking concept of how to relate that to others, heard another person's abduction story, and that became theirs. And
wow.
And when you debunk that, you can, I mean, look, everything is a belief. I understand that, but like when you view alien abduction and alien interaction with people here on Earth in that way, and it's so easily disproven, and it's already based on my faith in science, and science can sort of knock it out. It no longer has that pull on me that the sort of the unknown does when it comes to things like the Loch Ness Monster or the Bermuda Triangle. Like those things were just mysteries, man. They could be happening because of ghosts or some weirdo thing.
That's
but
fair.
You're like, no, these intergalactic travelers have come here and they've taken my body and they took me off into their ship and they experimented on me. And it's like, oh yeah? Or do you just have this fucking disorder that makes you think that you're being visited by some creature and you can't move? I don't know. I'm sure I'm just ranting here for too long about this.
No, here's the funny thing. You're the only other person to ever bring up The Nightmare on this show. Other than myself, because I always go to it as this kind of weird catch-all thing that can be, if you really wanted to, like you said, take this hard line on alien, especially, again, alien abductions not in your bedroom, stuff like that, are different stories. Travis Walton, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Again,
I'm not discounting the idea of abduction overall, but the majority of alien abduction stories seem to be I was laying in bed and then the lights went out and then strange things happened and I couldn't move. It's all the fucking same.
And the thing with lucid dreaming and sleep paralysis is just that. You cannot move.
Yeah. And your mind is going to create bugaboos for why it's happening to you.
Yeah.
And then once you hear that there's an entire there's an entire group of people out there who've all experienced the same thing and they've accepted that it's aliens, then I think it's very easy for you to accept that as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it is just another thing that I think in the long run will be explained by being able to have a much more concise look at the human brain. Because again, we as human beings don't know the brain the way that we could once we have the technology to do so. And that's been made very apparent. The human brain is a very complex organ that not as much is known about it as we like to believe.
True.
And just, I mean, if you think it's literally your brain convincing you of something that's not happening.
Right.
It's completely internal. That is more terrifying than any alien coming down from the sky.
Right.
Right?
It sure is.
It is. I mean, again, the thing that freaks people out is don't forget the brain gave itself a name.
Good point.
It did. I mean, the brain called itself the brain because.
It's like an old Stephen Wright joke.
Is it?
I used to think that the brain was the best part of the body, and then I realized what was telling me that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about something like the Bermuda Triangle. Maybe it is just a bunch of planes that just happen to disappear in this one area, but if you go and chart out a triangle of 1.5 million square miles, are you going to find disappearances there too? I would probably say yeah.
Yeah, I think if it didn't take place over land, you could draw out any geometry you want, and you'll find an area that has probably surpasses the Bermuda Triangle as far as planes that just are never seen again.
But like you said, there is a thing about this that I love, as do you, which is the romantic quality of it.
Yeah, there was a time when it was so unknown that you could conjecture 1,000 different possibilities, and none was more correct than the other.
Right.
Later on, we figured out exactly how to quantify everything, but I don't feel cheated by the belief at one point in something like the Bermuda Triangle or the Amityville Horror. Like the Amityville Horror should make me mad, but it doesn't.
Right.
Like there was a time when it was very possible that this happened for real.
Yeah. So if you were to put a label on this, if you were to accept that this is a real thing, what do you think it is? Not saying it, taking the it's not real out of this. If things are going on that's unexplained, what is that unexplained thing?
I think I said it. I think this is it's probably some sort of unseen scientific thing that occurs there in bursts every once in a while, and I don't think we've investigated that well enough. I think it's like preternatural is the word, right? It's like it's unknown to us at the time, but we'll probably figure it out.
Like
I think I think that's something that eventually somebody will go, "Oh, you idiots. Why didn't you just scan for this thing?" Like that's clearly what was going on there the whole time. And you're like, "Oh, okay." And like, that'll be fine. But I think it's something like that. I don't think it's interdimensional communication or, portals to other worlds. It does seem a little odd that not only like the instruments on planes would go bad, but like people go a little cuckoo up there with it. I mean, I guess it's just a disorienting feeling anyway to suddenly find yourself where you think you're going is not, because your instruments are lying to you. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's that ultimately.
I mean, I will tell you, as someone who's been up in a small, like, private plane up in the clouds.
Yeah.
It is terrifying because you have to be rated to do instrument flight. I mean, IFR, instrument flight rating, as opposed to VFR, visual. And that, I mean, again, that's just as like many other things, it factors into this. Like you said, it's who knows what it is. But I would agree with you that there is probably a terrestrial explanation.
Yeah.
That is probably not that exciting, ultimately.
Probably
but
not.
It's not going to be anyways. No explanation is going to be as exciting as the one that you or I could cook up sitting here.
Right. Or that we've been told already, which is there is no explanation.
Right. We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
The absence of the truth leads to wild conjecture is what it is. And the wildest of conjecture is aliens, interdimensionals. God.
Or who knows, sea monsters. I'm sure at one point that must have been a Bermuda Triangle theory, right?
Christopher Columbus saw lights in what was now the Bermuda Triangle. Unexplained lights. So
that's true.
I mean, again, it goes back to, is it something we just don't know about yet? Or is it just something that we're conflating because somebody said this area? I want to sell some books.
It's such a fun idea that like we all just went, I don't care. I buy it.
And it's so like you said, it's no different than Amityville. It's fun.
Right.
Maybe it just could be fun and not worry about the reality of it.
Sometimes I think that,
Yeah.
Must you destroy all of my long-held childhood beliefs?
You take
in haunted houses.
Take them out back and hit them with a belt a couple times just to prove a point. Like, we get it. You don't believe in this stuff. Like,
slow down.
Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, look, people don't want to feel like they're getting one put over on them. People don't want to feel like they're being taken for a ride. I get it. You appreciate it too. But at the end of the day, part of this stuff is blind faith. And if you feel like you're being taken for a ride and it's not someone else's fault, you have no one to blame but yourself. Because again, if you want to believe this stuff, it's personal. It's personal held beliefs.
Yeah. I mean, some people believe in organized religions.
Right. This is no different.
Really, really no different than that.
No, pseudoscience and parapsychology are a religion in and of themselves.
And I'd rather believe this. I'd rather believe in the power of the Sasquatch than
the power of the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So, Father Malone, where can people find you when you're not here?
I'm usually, well, I guess most times you can probably find me at fathermalone.com, where you'll find links to everything that I do, all the little weirdo bullshit. There's videos on YouTube and other podcasts I co-host with others like Chris and Mike White of the Projection Booth. And you can also hear my podcast, which is called Dark Destinations, which is a half-hour radio drama that I write and produce.
You know what I noticed about radio dramas? They're coming back.
Are they?
Oh, yeah.
I'm at the vanguard and will be left behind.
No, I haven't seen anyone doing what you're doing.
Well, I've noticed a lot of people doing like readings, like live sort of readings. They're like sort of hearkening back to, radio plays as they were done in like the 30s and 40s, and nothing could bore me more than that.
Right.
Like, congratulations, spin that little, noisemaker around and step on each other's lines. I want it produced. I want you to believe you're fucking there.
Well, those are the kinds of shows I'm talking about. They're coming back.
Hopefully there's a lot of those. I mean, and I have heard some really good ones actually. But mine is better than all of those. So you should check mine out.
You know why yours is better? Because it's you doing it.
Goddamn right. I'm a genius.
There's no Oh, there's that.
Father Malone for the win.
There's no studio backing. There's no.
Oh no, there ain't nothing. There's just
He's
there's
backed
me.
By the studio of
there's
one.
me in an endless supply of sound effects late into the night.
I know. But yeah, I love your show. But
why? Thank you.
I'm biased.
You might be.
I might be. Just to
cut all this out. What are you doing?
Yeah, right.
Tell the people where they can find yourself.
Where can they find me? They can find me at cstachiw.com, cstachiw.com. That's my link tree. Similar to Father Malone, we've worked on things together before, and we'll work on things together in the future.
We're doing it right now.
Right, and like more episodes of Dreams for Sale, a show where we talk about Twilight Zone 1985 because reasons.
Yes, because it's a good show. Ultimately, it should be remembered fondly. That's all. Don't take it any further. Just enjoy.
Don't even listen to the show. You heard enough there.
Enjoy the memories.
The idea of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And as always, big thanks to my good friend Alex Malnack for the music, Maggie and Dustin Rutledge for the album artwork, to you, Father Malone, for joining me to sit down and talk about the Triangle of Bermuda.
Wonderful. Have me on again, and we'll talk about some other antiquated thing that's already been disproven.
Atlantis.
Not Atlantis. That's too close to Bermuda.
The Earth is flat.
No, I don't like that one.
Flat Earthers.
There's got to be some other sort of 70s-ish thing, like ESP. That was like a big thing. That was big then.
MK Ultra.
Oh man, I love MK Ultra.
MK Ultra is
a good one. That one's just like real.
Right, yeah. MK Ultra is just like a shitty thing that our government did. That's not
It's like, it's fucking fascinating that they did it, but like there's no doubt that they did.
Yeah, and like Ted Kaczynski's right. Like when Ted Kaczynski can be right, we have problems.
Yeah. He probably was right a lot. He just went about it all the wrong ways.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible thing to say, but at the same time, Ted Kaczynski did talk about our over-reliance on technology making us, where we are today.
I know, but you know what, man? Like a broken clock is right twice a day, right? Like I'm not going to give him any more credence just because he got a couple of things right. Like I can look around at the world and tell you what's fucking wrong with it.
That's fair. That's fair. Boy, there is a lot wrong with it. So Ted was right, I guess.
Yeah, but
went about it the wrong way.
Who cares? Yeah, he went the wrong way entirely.
Yeah, but I don't know what other 70s or like debunkable things or things that have been debunked.
I guess you're big on the Bigfoot. I'm sure you've done some Bigfoot episodes already, right?
We've never done like a Bigfoot episode.
You're not going to do it with me. It's just it's too vast.
I thought you were going to say it was too erotic. For me, it is. The erotic nature of Bigfoot is just too much for me to handle on one episode of this show.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's just true. I mean,
right, big man, hairy man in the woods.
Gotta be sexy there for the ladies.
Yeah. I don't know what I think ESP. I think that's probably
ESP was pretty big. I'm trying to think. I mean, look, there were lots of ghosty kind of things going on in the 70s. I'm running. What I'm doing right now is running down the list of episodes from In Search Of in my head.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I noticed there was lots of sort of piratical episodes. Resurrection was a big one in the thing, like sort of past lives. Suddenly,
we have an episode on that one.
I'm sure you do.
But we just did that recently. That's a recent thing. Past life regression is.
Yeah, it's pretty cuckoo. But that was sort of coming of age, then coming of new age back then. I don't know. I'll think of something. I'll think of some fucking stupid bullshit that I still believe, no matter how fucking hard they disprove it.
How many times they've taken shots at it, I still believe. God damn it.
Yeah, man.
Hey, you know what? And ultimately, that's what this show's about: belief and having one or don't have one. But hey, man, don't harsh my vibe.
Believe in yourself.
Don't believe in the Bermuda Triangle. Believe in yourself, motherfuckers. Oh, boy. So on that note, I'll let our good friend, the former host of Sightings, Mr. Tim White.
No mystery is closed to an open mind.